All right, so it looks like Kevin McCarthy has started his campaign to become, or to maintain, or no, I'm sorry, to become House Speaker, to maintain his leadership. There was a little hoorah, hoorah rally in Pennsylvania that the House Republicans referred to as a commitment to America. Uh, and they had a whole slew of big House Republicans up there, some of whom, at least one of whom I actually like, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Then we had one person from the great state of Texas, Beth Van Dyne, who I don't know too much about, but I know she votes a lot more with the scumbag Dan Crenshaw than she does with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Um, at any rate, this is being billed as a town hall where the soon-to-be majority House Republicans were going to pitch their commitment to America. What this really was, ladies and gentlemen, was an entirely scripted, as these things always are. This was an entirely scripted deal where they had shills in the audience. Maybe they were who they say they were. Maybe they weren't. I don't know. They were not randomly called upon. I can almost guarantee that. They were picked. They were told what questions they were going to ask, and the representatives had their answers ready to answer this. And we're going to find out at the end what this was really all about. I am reading from a Breitbart article written by Sean Moran, 23rd of September 2002, the title of which is Exclusive. House Republicans Turn Commitment to America Unveiling into Town Hall to Earn Voters' Trust. And I'm going to scroll down here through the intro and get to what some of the talking points were. The audience members featured parents who wanted to stop critical race theory in classrooms, police officers concerned about crime and the fentanyl crisis, business owners alarmed at rampant inflation and crushing regulation, and Americans who want accountability for China for allegedly unleashing the coronavirus pandemic onto the world. That's the summary right there of what they are saying the people, we the people, are concerned about. And as proof that this is what we the people are concerned about, they show examples of some of the questions that were brought up at this so-called town hall meeting. I'm going to tell you that that list right there is a list of items that the Republicans, the politicians, say that we are concerned about. That's a list of things that the politicians want us to be concerned about, because this is a list of items for which the Republicans have answers and talking points. I don't see anything in there about the violent criminal activity of the left's paramilitary wing with regards to BLM and Antifa. I don't see anything in there about the Democrats weaponizing. Well, I kind of do, but I don't see anything in there about the Democrats basically declaring war on the people of the United States and addressing the fact, basically calling a spade, addressing the fact that the Democrats are anti-American, anti-Constitution, and they're thugs. Let's go on. For instance, when one mom said that the historic levels of inflation under Biden put undue strain on her family, Representative Brian Steele of Wisconsin said that House Republicans would quote unquote rein in Biden's reckless spending. Okay, they can definitely make that promise. And they can hold that promise. That's something that's the point that I really want to make here. They can make a whole crap load of promises, but this is one that they can actually keep because all spending bills originate in the House of Representatives. But let me tell you what is more than likely actually going to happen under Kevin McCarthy's leadership. What is actually going to happen under Kevin McCarthy's leadership is that a spending bill will come along, sponsored by the president, sponsored by Democrats, whatever, and it will actually see the light of day. That will be their first mistake. No, Democrats may not. This is what they need to promise. Democrats, no Democrat-sponsored bill will see the light of day in the House of Representatives. Not one. Nothing. Nothing sponsored by Democrats gets passed. It will not even see the floor for debate. That is what they need to say. They need to show the American people that they are 100% committed to ending the tyranny of the Democrat Party. And I don't see that here. This platitude of, oh, we're going to rein in Biden's reckless spending. Oh, yes, we're gonna rein it in. They can actually do that. But the terminology they're using indicates to me that they're not serious about this. This is BS. What's really going to happen is a bill will come through, and more than likely it will be sponsored by Democrats and Republicans because we are going to act in the interest of bipartisanship. You see, Biden came in and he said he was going to be a unifier, but he wasn't. But we will be unifiers. We're going to work together with our Democrat colleagues. That's right there. You're going to hear it. I promise you. McCarthy is going to say stuff like that. His goons, his RINO goons are going to say stuff like that. We're going to be bipartisan. We're going to reach across the aisles. No. No. Do not buy this, folks. This is the way it has always been. This is the way the establishment works. I have mentioned this multiple times on this show. The Democrats and the left push as hard as they can until the people of the United States can't stand it anymore, and so they vote the Republicans in because the Republicans promise to be different. And the people vote the Republicans in with the hope that the Republicans will actually reverse what the Democrats have done, but they do not do that. They advance the Democrat agenda just a little bit slower. In the interest of bipartisanship, they just slow it down. They are a political pressure relief valve. And forgive me, folks, I may have transposed the terms Democrat and Republican unintentionally while I am talking about this, but the fact of the matter is that that's more of a Freudian slip because there really is no difference between the two parties. They are a uniparty. One part is the aggressive part, moving the United States inexorably towards the left, inexorably towards a unified global government run by an unelected bureaucracy. And the other half, again, is a political pressure relief valve that does the exact same thing, they just do it slower. And that's the bill of goods we're being sold here. But I'm going to continue. Representative Lisa McCain of Michigan said they would work to keep many of Trump tax cuts permanent. I'm sorry, you're going to do what? You're going to work to keep many of Trump tax cuts permanent? How about working to keep all of them permanent? And this is something that we are going to notice here throughout this entire article, is that we do not see a commitment to Trump's Make America Great Again, Save America, America First agenda. That is not mentioned here. So Lisa McClain said that they will work to keep some of Trump's tax cuts, and they're going to work to do it, but they're not making any promises. You see how that works? So, well, we'll try to keep some of the tax cuts permanent, is what she's actually saying. That is the actual translation of that statement right there. When James Custer, oh, no, wait. Okay. Another mom, no, I went too far. Hang on. When a small business owner demanded that lawmakers hold China accountable for coronavirus pandemic, Representative Jim Jordan, who I like, and now watch this next part, the likely next House Judiciary Committee chairman, right here, the likely next House Judiciary Committee chairman. There's a reason they put that in there, folks. Because those of us who are Trump supporting MAGA Republicans, America First Republicans, want to see Jim Jordan replace Kevin McCarthy as Speaker. So they threw that little aside right in there to show you that the actual intention of the Republicans is to put Jim Jordan as the head of the House Judiciary Committee. Which that wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, don't get me wrong. But something that needs to happen, absolutely 100% needs to happen, is McCarthy needs to be removed from power, gone, out. So they throw that little thing in there. You have to know how to read these stories, folks. You have to see what they're trying to tell you. Or you have to see what they're actually saying. Okay? There's what's on the surface, and then there's what they're actually saying. And what they're actually saying is, well, read between the lines. Representative Jim Jordan, who I like, said that Republicans will be doing an investigation with subpoena power on the origins of the coronavirus pandemic. Okay, that's all well and good. I'm for that. I'm okay with that. I just don't want endless investigations. I don't want endless investigations that lead absolutely nowhere, result in absolutely nothing, and waste taxpayers' time and money. Basically, if you're not going to throw down, and if when President Trump comes back into power in 2024, you are not going to start referring people to the DOJ for prosecution, don't waste our freaking time. I don't want to hear any of these promises. I would actually feel a lot better if they just said, we're going to lay down, turn our backs up, and let the Democrats do whatever the hell they want. Because at least then they'd be being honest. Next paragraph. Another mom described herself as a mama bear. Oh, that's original. Wanted to know how Republicans would fight back against the Department of Justice for labeling parents concerned about coronavirus lockdowns and teaching of CRT as terrorists. Okay, that's a legitimate concern, but that's pretty much already been taken care of. That's been exposed. What are you going to do to outlaw CRT? What are you going to do to defund schools that teach CRT? What are you going to do with regards to the DOJ? Let's talk about that. What are you going to do about the ATF going and doing warrantless searches and seizures all over the United States? What are you going to do about the DOJ illegally raiding the home of a former president of the United States, illegally investigating a former president of the United States. What are you going to do about that? Are you going to defund the Department of Justice, which is what you should do? Are you going to stop passing these budget reconciliations and instead demand an actual budget? Are you going to do your job? Well, that's not what they're saying here. They're not saying that that's what they're going to do. It continues. Republicans said that there would be an investigation into the DOJ's harassment of parents. Representative Julia Letlow said they would pass a Parents' Bill of Rights to ensure parents have a voice in the education. Okay, first off, the problem with this, and this is just pandering, ladies and gentlemen, this is proof right here that all this thing was just pandering. The federal government has zero business in education. Zero. There is nothing in the Constitution of the United States that specifically states that the federal government has any business in education. Nothing. Which means they don't have any business in education. One way or the other. Democrat or Republican, left or right, liberal or conservative, they do not have any business in education. Defund the DOJ. It's that simple. If you guys want your funding, you will start doing your doggone jobs. It's that simple, and they could do that. The House of Representatives is extraordinarily powerful, especially if they have a Speaker of the House who has some balls, unlike Kevin McCarthy. And we already have a Bill of Rights. It's in the Constitution of the United States. So what needs to happen, the change that needs to happen with regards to CRT and education, is that the parents in the states have to actually vote out the scumbags in the states and locally who are bringing this garbage into school. Has nothing to do with the federal government. This is pandering, folks. Next, when James Custer, the sheriff of Fayette County, Pennsylvania, discussed how Washington, D.C. is not doing anything to combat the fentanyl crisis, Representative Brad Wenstrup of Ohio said that Republicans would work to declare fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction. This is so unbelievably, unbearably, ridiculously stupid. And yes, I am calling Representative Brad Wenstrup stupid. And anybody who believes this garbage that he just said. Let me explain something, folks. As a surgical nurse, as a nurse in general, I can tell you for a fact that fentanyl, when used properly, has medical uses. As a weapon of mass destruction. This is stupid. I got this though. How about this? You want to take care of the fentanyl crisis? That's an executive function. I mean, I'm sure that there are some things that the House of Representatives can do. They can pass laws that will increase prison time. If you're caught smuggling fentanyl, life sentence. You're done. You're done. One and done. Life sentence. Depending on how much. Okay, so if you're smuggling a little, you get a little. If you're smuggling more, you get more. If you're smuggling a ton, like just got caught yesterday, a big bunch of fentanyl that would wipe out, 3 states, you get a life sentence. No parole, no nothing. You're done. But again, when it comes right down to it, in my opinion, that's not really a function of the federal government either. And this is something that can be debated with regards to federal law enforcement, that kind of thing. But I really don't see much of a function of federal law enforcement. There's nothing that the federal government cannot do law enforcement wise that states can't do themselves. And so I see this as a states issue. Now, what the federal government could do and should do is declare organizations that smuggle drugs, foreign organizations, cartels that smuggle drugs into the United States, rightfully declare them as terrorist organizations and treat them as such, instead of having the war on drugs, quote unquote, that we have had for decades now that has not done anything to curtail drugs. What we need to do is have a war on drug cartels. I'm talking bombs, I'm talking special operations, I am talking killing bad guys, putting warheads on foreheads, putting bullets in brains. That's what needs to happen to take care of this fentanyl crisis. I guarantee you it'll dry up. It'll dry up in a heartbeat. The second we start pushing these cockroaches back into their holes, this will start happening. We have to start holding these evil people accountable. And in order to do that, the first thing we need to do is start identifying what is evil and actually calling what is evil, evil. But that's not what we're doing here, and that's not what they're talking about doing in this little commitment to America. This is no commitment. This is no commitment at all. This is pandering. After the town hall concluded, Scalise told, he's the House whip, the minority whip right now, and he'll be the second in command theoretically if McCarthy becomes speaker. Scalise told Breitbart News that he believes that the Biden White House and Speaker Nancy Pelosi are, quote, disconnected from the average American. This is talking points, folks. They say this every freaking year. They say this all the time, every election cycle, from the average American. And the Republicans are equally separated from the average Americans. They don't care. Just look at this so-called town hall. I guarantee you these were scripted questions with scripted answers. This is not a town hall. They wouldn't let somebody like me ask questions. They won't take the hard questions because they don't want to provide hard answers. They want to script from beginning to end the narrative. This is our narrative. These are the things that you should be concerned about, and these are the things that we promise to kind of think about maybe doing something about when we have time. In a bipartisan manner, of course. Scalise said, just hearing people outside of Washington in the real world talking about all of the problems that they're facing because of the agenda of Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi, how much it's hurting them in order to blah, 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 blah. Okay, this is typical. Go on Twitter just for fun and see what the Republican representatives like Steve Scalise and Kevin McCarthy and the rest of these yahoos are putting out there. The only thing they do, this is their standard operating procedure. They bitch and complain about the stuff that the Democrats are doing. Oh, look at how the Democrats are doing this, and look at how they're doing that, and look at how this is just terrible for you, and they're doing this, and they're doing that. But they don't ever propose real answers to the problems. Hell, they don't ever propose any answers to the problems most of the time. And here they are, and what they're doing, all they're doing is pandering for more campaign funding and elect us back again. They are perfectly fine actually being a minority party as long as they can rule their minority party in a Democrat-run hell. They're okay with that. Not once in any of this do I see any commitment whatsoever to Trump's America First agenda. And when I say Trump's America First agenda, I mean our America First agenda. We elected Trump twice, and we're going to do it again. Only this next time, it won't be stolen from us. Next paragraph. Many House Republicans told Breitbart News that the event goes deeper than merely trying to explain their agenda to the American people. It serves as a checklist to earn and keep the American people's trust. Baloney. This is a bunch of garbage. These guys are lying. I think it's the overriding it is the overriding one of the overriding messages of this election that we need folks who are going to defend the Constitution, the Bill of Rights and Freedom. These are talking points, ladies and gentlemen. They have no commitment because they did not suggest a single thing. Okay, there was one thing in there that they can actually do. Everything else is either stuff they can't do or we'll think about it if we get to it. We might keep some of those tax cuts, maybe permanent. We'll see what we can do. And here's another thing, folks, that now while they can control the spending and stuff like that, when they talk about, declaring fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction, fucking moron. When they talk about stuff like that, this is stuff they have no intention of doing. And it's stuff they can't do anyway, because it has to, when they pass it, it has to go through the Senate. And if it gets through the Senate, which it won't, if it's conservative, then it has to be signed by the President of the United States. And we don't actually have one of those right now. And the one who's pretending to be President of the United States is a slobbering moron. And his handlers aren't going to let him sign anything conservative. So none of this is going to happen. The only thing they can do at this point is control spending. They can defund stuff. They're not talking about doing anything of substance. Nothing of substance. Defund the DOJ. Period. Done. No funds for the DOJ. Nothing. Demand a budget. And if a budget doesn't come, shut down the government. These gutless cowards never do that. Or they will do it just long enough that they can get enough kickbacks from the Democrats that they say, we've reached out in bipartisan. Yeah, bipartisanship, you got paid off a couple of extra $1 million. Or nowadays, $1 billion. These guys are crooks. Representative Dan Musser, Pennsylvania, said voters have every right to not necessarily trust Democrats. No, they have every right to not trust Democrats at all. Or Republicans. They don't have the right. No, they have every right not to trust either one of them because they're playing for the same team. They kind of don't trust government. We don't trust government. We don't trust federal government, period, at all. Nothing. We've got to do what we say we're going to do. And note that we have to do what we say. No, you have to do what we tell you to do. You have to do what we tell you to do. Not what you say you're going to do. Do what we tell you to do. I was in business for 25 years, close to it. I've been in the House now for 2 terms, heading into 3 terms. That's another thing that needs to happen, folks. And they're not going to do it to themselves. Term limits. Term limits. Six terms maximum for a representative. And 2 terms maximum for a senator. That's what I'm thinking. Actually, let's make it 8 years across the board. To me, you build trust by being trustworthy, and in business, you have a saying, under promise, over deliver. Government usually works the other way. Overpromises and commitment to America, the start of it. I think Kevin McCarthy is a strike. And this is what the whole thing was about. Because Kevin McCarthy knows, he knows for a fact, that if enough MAGA representatives are elected into the House of Representatives, they are going to vote him out. The people are going to demand that this feckless, gutless, ballless weakling be removed from power, never to have it again. This whole commitment to America thing, the whole purpose of this was a campaign ad for Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House to the American people. That's all this was. Nothing more, nothing less. They have zero intention of doing any of the things they were talking about here. They're just trying to sell us on the idea that McCarthy is actually the guy to run the show in the House of Representatives. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you unequivocally, he is absolutely not.